get your new Badger stock out of the box, there's 3 pieces that need to be put on it before you start assembling it on your rifle. This is the back part of the butt pad that's not on there. It's got 4 studs on it, and there'll be 4 screws go in it. All you do is line it up on the studs, which sometimes you have to finagle it around a little bit to get it to fit, but it snaps right on, as you can see. Then you have 4 1-inch screws. I always start, when I put mine in, on this bottom one, and that pulls it down tighter, so when you put your butt plate on, you've got a good snug fit there. And when you put these in, you don't have to screw that down real tight. All you have to do is snug it, because it's screwing into that plastic. These will never be taken off again. Once you put it on there, it will stay on there unless you have some bad trouble. Get something hung down in there or whatever, but there shouldn't be any reason to ever have to take this back off, is what I'm saying. But once you get the screws screwed down in and get them snug, that's all you have to do to it, and then you'll snap your butt plate on, and then you'll be able to start assembling your rifle onto the Badger stock. But this does have to be done before you start putting your rifle on it. That makes it one solid piece. Then you can put your butt plate on for your storage. Snap that forward, that locks her in. Then you have 2 light rails if you want the light rails on there. If not, you don't have to put them on there. But there's little brass threaded grommets in there, and they are machine thread. I have 1/2 inch machine thread screws. You line your holes up. I always start both these screws before I tighten either one of them down. Seems like it makes it easier to me. As sure as I tighten one of them down, then I have to loosen it a little to get the other started. So you can do it however's best for you. But you screw those down until they are tight. That puts your light rail on, and then you just do the same thing on the other side if you want both light rails on. Okay, the last thing you do is take your clip retainer, pick it up, slide it right down in there, take your machine thread screw, put it in, tighten it down until it stops. Then you can put your clip in if you're using a 795 or a clip-fed gun. You don't have to do this on a Model 60, but it does make it look a little cleaner whether you're using a clip or not. Then you're ready to start putting your gun on this new Badger stock. Makes you a nice short little bullpup design. One other thing I want to tell you, all these Marlin semi-automatic rifles are the same from here back basically. Your holes are the same. But if you have a gun that was made in the 70s, this trigger housing right here is 3/8 of an inch longer on the back. The holes, the screw holes, are the same. Let me get up here where you can see. The screw holes are the same in these triggers, but this extends back 3/8 of an inch more. So if you're going to put one of your older rifles on there and use the older trigger out of it, you'll have to grind off about 3/8 of an inch of that trigger. But now, like I say, these screw holes will line up so your actuation rod will be right. You'll just have to take some off of the back of it if you have a really old rifle. That's the only difference, that's the only change they've made in these guns, is that's a little bit longer, and newer guns have the last shot hold open. So on your last shot it stays open. When you reload it, you push the button and it goes shut. Once again, before you do anything to a gun, the first thing you need to do is open it. Actually look down in the barrel and make sure there's no bullets in it, there's no bullets in your clip, and it is empty. Then you can proceed taking it apart, cleaning it, or whatever you want. Now I'd like to show you how to put the 70P, or Papoose, Marlin makes on the Badger stock. This gun's a little bit different than the 795 or the Model 60. This is the Model 60. The 795 and the 60 have the same size barrel. You can see this barrel is considerably smaller in diameter and in length. These guns basically from here back are the same. That's why they bolt down on the Badger stock. The only difference is you'll have to make a few changes on how you put your barrel on, and I'll show you how to do that. But this gun here is designed, you can loosen this nut on the barrel and the barrel will come off of it. You can put it in a small case and use it as a pack rifle, put it on your back. But if you decide to use it on the Badger stock, it will fit it. You just have to make a few little different changes on it. The bolt down is the same. Once you get that tight, you get a little wrench from Marlin that you secure it with, and that's all there is to that. When you receive your Badger stock, this piece that I take out on the 795 and the Model 60, you take it out and leave it out, and that leaves room for this nut to set down on that stock. Gives you clearance. You take your actuation rod out just like you did on the other two. Make sure that it's setting up. Set it down over your trigger just like you did the others. Make sure it's flush. Screw your screw down until it hits. Stop. That's all you have to do. Now the older Model 70P had the small trigger in it, like the Model 60. The newer Model 70P has the trigger housing just like the 795. So before you put your trigger back in your Badger stock, you need to put this plate back in there just like you did on a 795 to cover this hole. If you don't, you'll have to take it back apart to put that in there. Stick it right back in just like you do on the other two. Snap it in. Take your 3/4 inch sheet metal screw. Put it in the back. Just snug it down also. Take your 1/2 inch flat screw. Put it in the front. The trigger mechanism is in there where it's supposed to be. Okay, now is where the difference comes in. You need to go to a hardware store or wherever, get a piece of weather stripping. This is a fairly solid piece of weather strip. It's just foam rubber. Let me show you the difference. When you put your barrel down on here, you have quite a bit of gap in between your barrel. You also can get dirt and debris down in where your trigger is. So therefore, you need to put these in there to stop the dirt and debris from getting down in there. It just fills in the space is all it does. Once you put those in, you can't see your trigger housing anymore, and that'll stop the dirt from getting down in it. Then you set your gun, barrel action, just like you do all the others. 795 or the Model 60 or whichever one you're going to be using. You still want to make sure that your rod is where it should be, pushing on the actuation to make the hammer drop to make the gun fire. Once you check to make sure that's where it should be, you take your plate that has the hole in it, just like the 795, because this is a clip-fed gun also. Take your short screw, put it in the front, long screw in the back, Just snug them down. You don't have to tighten them too tight. Now also, because the barrel is so small, if you put your barrel strap over, you can see that it is going to have a gap between the barrel. Take a piece of your weather stripping and cut it down to about 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch. You don't want enough on there. You need it to come over the barrel, and that's all. Touch the sides of the stock, but you don't want to be pushing down on your barrel when you put your barrel strap on. So if you have that too thick, you may have to take a little bit off of it. That'll be up to you on how thick you put it on there. Then after you put that piece on there, you take your machine thread, 3/8 screws, just like you do on the 60 and the 795. Start them both before you tighten them. Snug them down. Once you get that completed, you can see that your gap, you can't see your trigger down in there, so if you get any dirt, it should fall back out. The end of it is secured, touching your barrel. It's not touching it hard, but it is touching. And that makes a really nice little gun. My grandson likes this gun because it's so much lighter than the others. That barrel's so small. And also this comes out with a factory 16-inch barrel on it. So if you want the shortest gun, this would be the shortest one. It is 26 3/4 inches from the tip of the barrel to the butt of the gun. It still holds the clip in the handle. Just same stock, just a different gun. These older Model 70s, or 70Ps also, and the 60s, on the last shot, they don't stay open. The newer ones have a release down here. The last shot stays open. You have to push release to let it go back forward. But that is how you put your 70P on your Badger gun stock. Thank you.